Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. In this session, we will outline the white hat proposition, which directly addresses web application security and hopefully shows you how you can make money and keep your customers sticky with minimum effort for maximum return. My name is Mark Hubbard, and I am the White Hat Security Vendor Manager for Exclusive Networks. I just need to do a little bit of housekeeping. We're aiming for about 25 to 30 minutes, all told. And all questions, could you please use the chat box on the bottom right hand of your screen, and I will attempt to answer as many as I can in this session. And just to let you know, everybody's been muted apart from me, because that wouldn't really help, would it? So if we're ready, let's begin. You should be seeing the strapline screen. Hopefully everybody can see that one. I will try and condense this session, as I said, down to about 25 minutes. So over the last few weeks, many of our prospects have said they recognize White Hat, but do not know what we actually do. So here is a bit of an explanation. We offer a managed service that delivers a continual assessment report on the state of the security of your application with reference to cyber threats. So basically, I suppose we check your website for holes more than anything else. White Hat is also capable of assessing static code in the software development lifecycle. And so if your customers have a new web application that they're looking to launch fairly shortly, we can ensure it is secure before they actually publish it. I suppose a key part of the managed service is that your customer does not need to know the technology. White Hat will do it all for you, from discovery to reporting to remediation. These assessments are all verified by the threat response team. And so in that way, we can deliver the 0 false positives declared on the screen there. So a little bit about the company. Company's 13 years old and primarily has enjoyed a North American customer base. They are HQ'd in Santa Clara, and the threat research centers are spread over that site and also in Houston, Texas. There is talk, by the way, of opening up a European threat center, which will probably more than likely be the UK. The company has 360 employees, and of those, about 165, 170 are security engineers. And with over 900 customers, White Hat are considered long-term strategic partners and trusted advisors. Currently, White Hat assesses around about 6,000 websites concurrently, and has over 40,000 websites being regularly tested. White Hat has enjoyed, in the past 2 years, leader status in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for application security testing. Taking a quick look at some of the customers, there are some very, very large names on here, very, well, household names if you like. All these are looking to continually check their applications for vulnerabilities. Recent local signings have been Just Eat, you can see the logo up there, and Rightmove in the UK. So let's look at the challenge. The challenge, I suppose, maybe we're all suffering a little bit from breach fatigue, but this is still, I think, quite an important slide. Here are, if you like, a timeline, I suppose, over the last 12 months of some significant names that actually have declared that they've been breached and have had data actually stolen. These particular breaches have hit the press, and as you can see, cover a diverse spectrum of organizations, from law enforcement to retail and from energy to finance. These breaches really, and associated media coverage, are causing the majority of organizations with web applications to stand up and take a look at the security of their externally facing applications to protect their customers, intellectual property, and of course, their business. So let's have a quick look at the cost of a breach. Often hidden but nonetheless business critical, the costs associated with a breach are alarmingly high. These costs will vary depending on each organisation and the vertical market they operate in, but these items here that you see on the screen hold true across the board. If you run a business online, can you afford any single one of these costs, let alone potentially all of them? I think not. So let's take a look at the core message. We all know that security strategies are evolving and organizations are required to comply with regulations and quite often will address only the issues they need to become compliant. So normally point-in-time assessments are very much the common practice. And by this I mean that on a regular basis organizations will undergo a pen test or similar to look for vulnerabilities in their web applications. And there is definitely now a movement towards scanning on a continual basis as opposed to a point-in-time basis, especially where the content and code of a web application may need to change throughout the year or on a daily basis or even sometimes hourly basis. The Hack Yourself First mantra, if you like, is strongly advocated by security-conscious web application development. So in other words, don't build it and just publish it, but build it, test it for security, then publish it. So from development to production, White Hat have a comprehensive approach. White Hat have already, we've already sort of mentioned source code analysis. In other words, the static application security testing, and also we've mentioned the dynamic analysis of a live web application. So let's dive a little bit deeper and have a look into this. Static application security testing, or tests, sorry, are run daily or on demand to test the coding of a new or refreshed application. And the White Hat Threat Research Center can actually validate each of these tests as they're done. That's the source code analysis. What this actually means is that the results of the test or assessment can be plugged into things like bug tracking solutions such as Jira. But okay, so what does that mean? So if you're running sort of agile development cycle, then physically we can test the code on a daily basis, look at the remediation and advice, and this is the threat research team actually looking, so there are 0 false positives in there, and physically plug that remediation advice back into your bug tracking application, in other words as Jira. So with regards to dynamic analysis, lots of organizations have been run on potentially vulnerable code, I suppose, but as the threats grow, there's a need to actually ensure that the security of these applications. So White Hat introduces continuous and concurrent assessment with 0 false positives, rubber stamped by the Threat Research Center. So, okay, what's so good about this? Well, it is actually production safe, so no changes are made to the application, just recommendations as how to fix the vulnerabilities. So the application doesn't change, it's just, oh, there's a hole there, there's a hole here, this is what you should be doing. Quickly with mobile app analysis, this is normally carried out on the static code for a mobile application and covers both Android and iOS. But there is the ability also to manually test production mobile applications. Now, computer-based training, CBT training, for developers has long been popular in the US and is now becoming more popular in the European area, or the European market, and it is now sort of available over here too. So, dynamic application security testing, how does it work? So this is probably the most important slide in the deck, really, with regards to understanding the process. The customer provides the credentials for White Hat to be able to gain access into the web application. So you log in with your user ID and password, and suddenly you're actually in the application itself. The Threat Research Center, who actually does the logging in, to then configures the scanner with the assistance of the customer and or partner to get the required levels of information from the scan. So it's not just an automatic scan, there is a human element whereby the scanner is configured by the Threat Research Center. The scan is then carried out and the assessment begins. And the resulting verified data is then pumped into the White Hat portal and is made available to the customer and partner. So, you know, as a partner, you could physically log into your customer's White Hat portal and look at all the remediation advice and the severity of the risks and the priorities put forward by the Threat Research Center, and physically advise the customer what they should be doing. The assessment itself highlights and prioritizes the risks here, and the actionable results are verified by the Threat Research Center, hence this zero false positive claim. So this trusted, now trusted information, because there are no zero false positives in there, or there are no false positives, sorry, in there, can be plugged directly into the web application firewalls, Jira, the bug tracking solution, and compliance systems such as Archer, and directly into things like SIMs such as Logarithm, RSAs, Envision, and the like. And this whole information package can then be delivered to the customer as a report, with obviously detailed vulnerability descriptions, recommendations as to what to do next. So how does it work, or how does Sentinel Source work? So this is dealing with the static code again. So Sentinel Source deals with static code analysis and is slightly different from the dynamic application security testing approach in that, well, White Hat will still populate the portal and the Threat Research Center is still very active and very much involved on the analysis of your coding. But most organizations do not really want their intellectual property taken off-site. And with the static code analysis side, White Hat drops a virtual machine or an appliance device onto your customer's premises, which interacts with the source code repository, keeping everything inside the customer's perimeter, so nothing physically goes off-site. So the testing is normally carried out overnight, and vulnerabilities are highlighted to the Threat Research Center with a little of the source code attached so that it makes sense to the Threat Research Center. So in other words, I see a vulnerability, or sorry, the scanner actually finds a vulnerability based upon the configuration set up by the TLC and customer's advice. It then highlights that vulnerability. The Threat Research Center then gets a little bit of the code either side of that vulnerability and is able then to piece it together and do put together the remediation advice. So why is White Hat different? Well, the key differentiation here, I suppose, is the fact that White Hat does not take the total IP, the total application offsite or re-engineer it. It basically takes little portions of that source code away, so you never have the full IP or intellectual property offsite. It's always within the customer's sort of control, if you like. So we can see really from this side that there's a scalable product portfolio here. So you've got a baseline edition which deals with brochureware sites, these sites that offer little or no functionality but sort of deliver information, so they can be checked for vulnerabilities. The standard edition is deployed to assess more complex sites where user authentication maybe is required and there are some transactional functionalities within the application. And then we have Sentinel Premium, the PE edition. Premium is used to assess more complicated applications that involve technical and business logic, where services to other applications are required. So, as already mentioned, White Hat offer a mobile application security assessment package that works with Apple and Android platforms called Sentinel Mobile. And we've discussed Sentinel Source, which works with Java, .NET, Objective-C, and PHP, and so on. Now, breaking news, really, that there is a new level of service offering called Sentinel Elite. Now, Sentinel Elite offers all the functionality of the Premium Edition with the added features of, well, firstly, a money-back guarantee. So if a breach happens in an application that is being continually assessed by White Hat, and White Hat should have really discovered this, then White Hat will refund up to $250,000 US to match against any business disruption and as such. You also get a dedicated subject matter expert, which is a resource actually aligned to the customer, who knows the application that is being tested very well and is fully conversant with its operation and what's expected of it. And on top of that, you get 60 days of platinum support to actually get this application into the best possible security state. After that 60 days have been used up, the report then reverts to sort of standard support. So really, I suppose with this latest edition, White Hat have indeed put their money where their mouth is. So in summary, White Hat's zero false positives promise really sets it apart from the crowd. And the latest money-back guarantee is a huge shift in this market and will draw potential customers in. The Threat Research Center becomes an extension of your team, so there's huge value add here. White Hat integrates into your security infrastructure, so there is no sort of, standalone security solution sitting here. This is actually an integrated part of the whole security function. Sentinel offers clear metrics and analysis. The solution is basically sold on an annual subscription basis, so this is year on, year on, year on, and it enjoys a 94% renewal rate, so your customer will come back to you year on year, as I just mentioned. So if you're going to roll this out, what will be the next steps? So White Hat themselves run the proof of concept and the evaluations. And really, as a potential partner, your focus should really be on building the pipeline. And obviously, Exclusive can help, and White Hat can actually help every step of the way there. So deals really themselves can turn around in, well, very quickly. So we're looking maybe from 2 to sort of 12 weeks. I think the Just Eat and the Right Move deals that we've recently completed in the UK were both closed within 7 weeks, which is sort of the mean here, the median, the middle. So normally the process can extend a little bit further depending on the size and sort of the procedures that the customer has in place. But both Sony and Unilever, which we saw on the customer slide previously, ended up being fairly fast deals and were concluded in about 12 months, hence the 12-week banner on the bottom of the page. So let's find the customers, and White Hat will help as much as possible, right through to the debrief of the proof of concept, with involvement from the threat research team. And basically, I think, you know, it's very, very low touch for you guys, so it's very, very simple to actually understand and begin implementation. So why should you care? Well, cyber threats are big news. Any web application solutions are normally supported by the board, so because they need the visibility of what's going on within the company. Continuous scanning in its own right is being looked into right the way across all verticals and all markets. So the potential market is really quite large. It's managed services. Everybody's been talking about managed services for the last 3 to 4 years. So in reality, what does that mean? Well, you can onboard your customers very fast. There's a continuous revenue stream, which is superb. Low touch from your point of view, so it's get your customer interested, get White Hat involved, and off you go. And the POCs, or proof of value, are, well, really produce wonderful results. So once you've got this in and your customer sees what their website looks like and where the holes are, they very, very rarely back away. And obviously excellent margins. I mean, with deal registration you can sort of earn up to 30 points on this product. So I mean, in reality, this is sort of like a very, very easy solution to actually bring into your portfolios. Here's my details: Gareth O'Sullivan, who's the technical side, and Crayson Jenkins, who's the regional sales director for White Hat. I think we've got a little bit more time. What I'd like to do is maybe answer a couple of the questions very briefly. So here we go. Here's one. How does the scanner work? Do you just point it at the web application and press go? Well, actually, that's quite a good one. White Hat needs the URL of the application involved and some credentials to physically log in. It then involves the threat response team and configures the scanner, and the process begins. It's that simple. So all we need are credentials and the URL. Okay, another question. Can a proof of concept or proof of value be run on both static and dynamic applications? Yes. So for dynamic, you just need the URL and credentials, and for static, you need to be able to deploy a virtual machine or appliance on the customer site and give that machine access to the source code repository. Now here's a beaut. You claim 0 false positives. How can you do that? I think that's a good question, because the Threat Research Center has 165 to 170 engineers. And these guys validate all the results from any of the scans. So each vulnerability is tested to see if it really is a vulnerability, and hence the ability to claim 0 false positives. I also think to compound that one, if you look at the latest offering, you know, with Sentinel Elite, and the fact that these guys are offering a money-back guarantee, that sends a strong message out to your customer base. I think we've just about come to the end, and thank you everybody for attending this afternoon, and I hope it was informative. Any questions, please contact either Crayson Jenkins or myself, Mark Hubbard. Thank you very much.